G'day fellas and welcome to a casted game of Age of Empires 4. Today we are on Highview to watch two of the world's best players face off mono a mono, and well, we see something that has become very familiar in recent times. Ladies and gentlemen, it is a very early Rax. Now this is going to be coming down for our House of Lancaster player, and I suspect we're probably going to be seeing a deer push or two. Now, keep in mind, he's going to be playing up against the Ottomans, but look, let's introduce our players first, then we'll get into the strategy. Ladies and gentlemen, this morning, on the southeast side of the map, in the colour red, playing as the House of Lancaster in a brand new clan. Actually, we don't use that word anymore, do we? It's a, what are they? I don't know what they call them. Team. A new team, ladies and gentlemen, it's Myriad of MTE. And on the other side of the map, in the colour pink, playing as the Ottomans with an early opening military school. Ladies and gentlemen, representing Team Elephant, it's Louis MT. Welcome to Highview. A pleasure to have your company here today. If you're enjoying this Age of Empires 4 content, I'm going to go ahead and ask you to leave a like down below onto the video, and of course make sure that you've subscribed and turn on the notification. No, I'm just kidding. Subscriptions don't matter. That's not important. We don't care about subscribers, at least not anymore. You know, it's kind of funny because like the YouTube meta has always changed, right? And what's interesting is, as time goes on, actually, you know what we're going to do? We're going to switch around these colors because I'm going to take my hand off the keyboard just because we have blue in the north and red in the south, and if I switch that color, or if I switch the perspective, we've now got blue in the south. And we're going to just keep the colors like this just because, even though I love to tell a story, pink and red get a little bit confusing. Now, we do start to see Myriad pushing these in. But yeah, with regard to YouTube, like the meta has definitely changed with regard to how YouTube works over the years. Like subscribers used to be really important. It still is to an extent, but it's not really like that big. The most important thing is just you're enjoying the content, right? At the end of the day, that's what it's all about. So that just really comes down to me and making sure that I'm doing a good job here and entertaining you guys. So let's talk a little bit about entertainment. It's been a couple of days. You guys would have been going without entertainment. I do apologize. I've been a little bit sick. You may still hear it throughout this cast in my voice. It's a little bit raspy at the moment. I've gone ahead with an afternoon cast. The drink of the day water. We're currently sitting. And let's talk a little bit about matchups. That's enough about me, about where we currently stand. The matchup. House of Lancaster, the English variant, up against the Ottomans. And we've got something peculiar that's happening. It's something that you would have seen many a time in the recent season. And this is the deer push. And we've seen players investing in this. And one of the trends that I'm noticing that is happening is that we see players push deer and then just pretty much go castle. But it gets even more, how would I say, more deep than that, because one of the trends I've also been noticing is that Imperial Ages just seem to be very common now. Like, we are seeing very quick Imperial Ages. There's a lot of civilizations that have got big Imperial Age landmarks. So, right here, as an example, if we were to talk about the Ottomans, they don't really have, I mean, I guess you could kind of call their Istanbul Observatory a decent landmark in Imperial Age, just because it does give you that extra increase in training speed. But when we think about like those big Imperial Age landmarks, I'm thinking about Wingard, right? Because when it comes to the House of Lancaster, that for me is what makes them tick. The ability for the Wingard Talus to print out spearmen like an absolute madman is really what sets it apart. It's kind of like the Burgrave, but in the Imperial Age. And because of that, there's this trend towards Imperial Age, at least with House of Lancaster. And one of the key things that we see is this, the securing of food. So right now, Myriad has secured enough food to go Imperial Age off this deer. These deer, these are sufficient to take him to Imperial Age. Now, keep in mind, he's still going to need to get Castle Age here, so that will mean that he'll have to rely on sheep. But for all intents and purposes, he's got pretty much enough food right here that he could go Imp, which is kind of wild, because not only that, he's going to have manors. Manors are going to be contributing food to his total as well. And it just really guarantees that he's got quite an ability to flex his tech compared to an opponent who is going to have difficulty. Now, don't get me wrong, we've got the Twin Minaret Madrasa coming up, but compared to the food that you're getting from these, the deer spike that you're getting, it is incredible. So I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a little bit of a deer push on the side of Louis MT as well, but we'll ride on board with Louis and see how he's doing, as the age ups do come through for both of these players at the moment. Scout is on the other side of the map, and we can see the double deer push coming through. So in my mind, this is almost guaranteeing. Look, if you can protect your gold, there is a guarantee that you're going to just be able to afford Imp. And you can see right now, Louis is going to try his best here. Now, I'm curious what your suggestions are with regard to how you'd actually stop this kind of Dark Age deer push. Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? How do you feel about it? Because I guess for me, I don't mind it, but one of the things that happens is, right, like, when something becomes mandatory to do, then it becomes a bit problematic. And I'm not going to say that this is mandatory, because players definitely aren't mandatorily moving in their deer, but it is something that's very common that's happening here. So, of course, I think it's definitely worth a little bit of a discussion. Do you think it needs to be changed? I've seen one suggestion thrown around, which is that scouts should just one-shot deer from now on. And I think that's a decent suggestion. Because as you can see, we've got a little bit of a deer push that is happening. In fact, we couldn't even see them on the minimap. I guess there's been probably a couple of carcasses out here already that have been taken out. We only see, hold on, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm sure there's a 7th one in here. They can be difficult to find. So we've already had one squadron pushed in. Now it's time for the second one with the second TC coming down here. 5 minutes and 50, a pretty late age up here. Obviously open with the military school. Only 2 vills on the age up as well, but enough resources to get this second TC down pretty quickly. Let's check in on the other side though and see how Myriad's doing, as the first of the manors is now coming up. Now keep in mind, he's obviously got the spears out here. This deer hunter's pretty much just been settled at this stage. You're not going to be really wasting too much time pushing a single deer all the way in, though we have seen wilder things. Second men are now looking to come up as well, and protecting the front of the base here with the Lancaster Castle. The gold is still open over towards the east side, so there is the potential that you could look to try and do some sneaky shenanigans. And what do we got coming through on the Vizier Point? Let's take a look and see. Louis MT's Vizier Point has just arrived. He hasn't actually clicked anything just yet, so expect to see either... I'm going to go with Anatolian Hills here. I think Anatolian Hills makes the most sense, just because you've got the second TC. Technically, you could go into Imams. Okay, he does go Imams, just because there's probably going to be a priority for Castle Age almost immediately behind this, right? Like, if we think about it from the perspective of Louis, you're playing a 2 TC opening, you're up against a civilization that's going to be playing pretty passive. You know he's pushed at least 1 pack of deer to his TC. He's probably just going to go Castle Age. And it's like, do you want to try and mess around with him in the feudal age? You can. If you go Cav, you've already got the spears out. Is it really going to be worth it? He's done the math and he said, you know what? I think it's probably just going to be better if we just go Castle Age instead. Now, of course, you could come to that conclusion with both of these, and don't be surprised if he looks to actually flex into Anatolian Hills after, or when he gets that secondary point through. Of course, he could look to go into something like Military Campus, which is quite, I would say, almost standard at this point. Blacksmith going to be coming down as well. To the south, we've got a little bit of scout-on-scout action. Save it for after, fellas. Come on. Just keep everything standard at this point, please. Survival techniques now going to be arriving as well for Louis. So we'll just be riding on board with Louis today. My left hand is completely off the keyboard, and for the moment, it just rests on the desk. We'll keep it on the desk for now. It depends how good this game gets. It may make movements. Sorry. sorry. Excuse me. Back to the casting. Yes. Anyway, spearman chasing spearman. All right, enough talk about your spearman. Sorry, we got to get it out of our system nice and early. All right, this could be a good game. It could be a long game. We never know how long these are going to be when they're live, but that's just one of the realities of it. You just kind of you hope that you're going to get something good here. But let's take a look and spot what we get to the north as a wall comes up in the middle of the map. Not really the middle of the map, middle of the base here for Louis MT. So looking to begin that defense. Now, when it comes to resources in the bank, have a look at what Myriad's actually doing here. Open field system now going to get picked up. Now, normally what we see is just the 6 manors and then moving into Castle Age. But he's going to opt all the way for 9 here. So not even going to be looking to pull out the nobling of the musters just yet, or mustering of the nobles. Now, curiously, he's only got the 5 manors. I don't know where that 6th one is. I guess it'll be coming down any second right now. There we go. But I would suspect we're probably going to have a Castle Age almost immediately after that. It's a very big focus. So this is one of the things that I've done the math on many a time. In fact, we had a whole video that was dedicated to this. At what point does the manor actually overtake? Or not overtake, because right now I can tell you, as a matter of fact, the manor is very far ahead of the 2TC. So if we were to do the math right now, Louis MT is up 8 villages. Okay, it's a decent amount of resources. It's 40 resources a minute, so we'll call it roughly 320 resources a minute. And then you compare exactly that figure, 320 resources a minute, compared to how much is being made by these manors, and very quickly you'll see that you've got 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600 resources a minute, 700 resources, 800 resources a minute. You get the idea, right? There is an absolutely massive front cost for these manors, but at the same time, it's a static amount of resources that you're going to be getting back. Compare that to something like a town center, which is obviously also a massive upfront cost. However, it's going to take longer for those villagers to trickle in. So over time, over the course of a game, Louis MT will in fact outscale Myriad. But there's a couple conditions to that, right? The first condition being that Myriad doesn't add any additional town centers. So that's our first little clarification or caveat. But take a look at what we've got here. Scout moving up towards the north here from Myriad. We've got the Imams rotating out as well. Going to be looking to pick up 2 central relics here. That's going to be his goal. The age up now comes through. Now, keep in mind that we've got these points of interest out here on the map. Of course, this is one of the few maps that's actually got it. The abandoned outpost. It's the only 2 points of interest on the map, one on either side. And we do have a white tower. Interesting. So my theory has long been that you could do 9 manas. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 manas into White Tower, into Fast Imperial, and that there would basically be nothing that could stop you, right? Like, you could try and push with this amount of units, but you'd obviously just get laughed at. You've got the Lancaster Castle, you've got the town center, you've got all of the manas, you've got a potential bunch of demi-lancers that are on the way, not to mention you've also got the White Tower. Obviously, you know, battering rams could be problematic. We're 11 minutes already into the game. I suspect there'd probably be quite a few units out if you did want to actually fight it in feudal. I guess the point that I'm trying to make is that in a world where you're up against a player who's got some decent units out, it's going to be very hard for them to punish you at this stage of the game. And I wouldn't be surprised if what we see is Myriad go Imperial and Louis MT just mirror it as well. Just complete, like, both of them just go straight Imp here. Does capture that abandoned outpost in the north. You can see quite a bit of line of sight now coming through. Scout going to spot out those demi-lancers. Going to trail it as well. We do have villagers on the south of the map here looking to begin building the palisade wall. Tell you what, it's a decent-sized wall out here. Good luck to the man if he thinks he can actually hold this. Demi-lancers now sitting on the relic. Going to spot that wood out. Meta is here. Did I say wood? Wolf. He's moved into the military campus, by the way, just to keep you updated on the Vizier system. Just to let you know. Now, I've just realized I think Age of Empires 4 might be a little bit loud here. Give me a second here. I'm just going to turn that down. I've turned it down a little bit. I'm going to turn it down a bit more. Did I turn it down too much? Probably. Probably, but we're just going to leave it at that. White Tower through, and with that, the Earl's Guards are now out and about. Ville's going to be moving up towards the north. Relics getting picked up. That's 4 now in the bag here for Louis MT as he chases away the Earl's Guards into what appear to be a couple of spears on standby. Meanwhile, towards that west side, the veterancy on that spearman is working its magic. A little bit of a walla-loll at the back. He says, hey, by the way, just so you know, I've got that relic up here ready to go. A little bit of a mistake. He just kind of revealed it then. Was it a mistake? Maybe. Maybe not. Maybe he was buying himself a little bit of time. At the end of the day, he manages to complete this wall to the south. What's been going on down here? I see a whole bunch of dead units on the ground and a spearman. So I would suspect that we probably had a little bit of a trade down there, but Demi-Lance is now coming through. Ville's off the gold. Mangonel is out. Keep in mind, we got that MIA that's in. Meanwhile, on the side of Myriad, definitely going to be looking at Imperial. No real surprise here, and you can see that Myriad has done... Oh, we just changed perspective. Sorry, he's blue. Let me get my hands off the keyboard. So, indeed, my spider senses were indeed correct. This is going to be a fast Imperial game. Now, I think the big question for me is how fast does Louis follow him up? Because in my mind, if I'm Louis right now, you can't play it in Castle. You have to go Imp. I think there's no two ways about it. You're just up against way too many big problems. First question, how are you going to deal with Reboldequin? The reality is the Reboldequin is going to absolutely decimate your forces, and there's nothing that you can do until you've got that Great Bombard. That's going to be the key unit that we're going to be looking to counter it. Obviously, there's other units that can do it, but the Great Bombard is most likely going to be the key in dismantling that offensive Reboldequin push. Now, whether or not we actually see a offensive Reboldequin push, you know, it's not the first game this week that we've casted where there could be the potential for a Reboldequin push. We actually did see it recently from a Conqueror 3 player from the Chinese community, and apparently, I read through some of the comments, but apparently he routinely does this fast Imperial where he just goes Reboldequins and just pulls Vills and just tries to basically out-repair any damage you can do on the Reboldequin at the same time killing your buildings with his Culverin. So, pretty interesting strat. But obviously, in that game, didn't actually... Well, it panned out pretty well for him until about the moment where he had to type in GG's. But Age Up about to come through here now for Myriad. 14 minutes into the game. And I tell you what, we are seeing more and more of these fast Imperials. I think that, you know, I'm going to put this out here. I think the reason why we're seeing so many fast Imperials is because of deer pushing. There you go. That's it. That's my theory. I think that's a pretty solid theory, right? Like, if you've got safer food, then it means that you can do more with it. And like, if it's safe, if it's under the TC, then you don't need units to defend it, which means that you can just go imp. I think that's pretty sound logic here. Dagger throw coming through. Nice little bit of damage there on the Sipahi. And now that next Vizier point comes through, he's going to go straight down the line into Advanced Academy. So going to be looking to potentially pick up Knight training, Janissary training, the ability to get some of those out. Spears. Just bracing a little bit. Demi-Lance is going to move up towards the north. You can see he's working the units around here. Spearman going to get added in. Elite Spearman on the way as well for Myriad. And you know that can only mean one thing, ladies and gentlemen. It is time to begin the Spearman spam. It is about to happen. So with the Wingard, the key that you're looking for here is going to be this bad boy right here, the Garrison Command. And we can see it now in queue with 18 seconds to go. An army of 8 spearmen for such an amazing price. I think probably works out to be about half price, which is it's a decent price. You know, you want 50% off, we'll give you 2 for 1. Somewhere in that region. And it means that you get a whole bunch of infantry units at such an affordable price. And because of that, if you can follow up with elite units the same way that he is looking to do now, it will mean that you are very much rewarded. Now, we can see over on the side of Louis, he is indeed thinking about aging up himself, but a little bit of trouble at the moment. You can definitely feel the tension here as Louis looks to continue this wall or complete this wall in the north. A lot of villagers up here. It's going to be imperative that he maintains a presence behind these walls rather than being outside, because he will be down on upgrades and he's going to need to get Imperial, get upgrades, and then he can actually take the fights. Now, keep in mind, there is indeed going to be a Zerg of units that are on his way. This fast Imperial is starting to take over Age of Empires 4. We can say that much. You can see as the units march out, he's got a couple more of them in queue. Look how quickly these are building. This is the equivalent, if I remember correctly, we did the math, this is the equivalent of like 4 Raxes just pumping units non-stop at half price. It is ridiculous. It is crazy when you think about how good that is. And like, the thing about the Spearman is it's just a very good all-round unit. Not to mention, this is literally the best Spearman in the game because of Billman upgrade. So it's just like, you get such a good ROI on Spearman as a unit. Istanbul Observatory now going to be coming down for Louis MT as he rushes into the base. Myriad looking to try and cause havoc, cause harm. The timing is perfect. Right as the Imperial Age gets dropped. Literally could not ask for a better timing on this. And now as the Spearmen face their biggest challenge yet. The archer numbers begin to build. We also see a couple of Lancers that are coming out of the military schools. Probably the wrong unit to go for at the moment. I'd be more tempted getting archers out, but you can see he's got a whole bunch of production down towards the south. The age-ups come through. It's going to be the Istanbul Observatory. It's up towards the north here. So that's going to be giving him an increased speed on training for pretty much everything. Another Mango is going to be going down. Expect that MIA to be switched over. He's going over to the Baldequin. Definitely the right choice here. But look at the amount of units that just come through. This fast Imperial strategy is absolutely ludicrous. I can't help but feel like this is probably going to get nerfed. There's no way that this stays the way that it is, right? Like, because, I mean, don't get me wrong. It's a good strategy. Is it going to get nerfed? It could. It might. He probably, even at this point, right, 18 minutes into this game, even though Louis is ahead by 32 villagers, I just want to remind you that the Menas that are back at home are still ahead. They are still ahead of the 2TC. Just keep that in mind. The Menas cannot be idled. The Menas cannot die. Well, they can die, but like not the same way a villager can. But if they do die, just keep that in mind that you can just rebuild them instantly. And so it's not like you're losing progress. Like here, with every villager that dies, you're going behind on the count. And to rebuild that villager, you have to rebuild it from a town center that was already going to build a villager. So you're essentially just behind one villager now. Whereas if you lose that mana, you just build it in the back of your base with a couple villagers and you're fine. It's back. We're back to square one. 18 vills now taken out. And keep in mind, this is going to be even harder mountains to climb right here as the Spearmen just completely melt through these villagers. Elite Archers now going to be through on the defense. Definitely the right call in this game to be going into Archers. I will say that right now. From Louis MT's perspective, Archer together with, I think probably Archer Sipahi is a decent combo that you could roll with here. You can see he's popped the Janissaries as well. Take a look and see what we've got. We've got Janissary Company. So he's pretty much maxed at this point when it comes to his military schools. I think he's only missing the one. He's only missing the one. So he could have got a little bit more value on that, but for the moment, it's just going to be the 10 Janissaries that come out. So towards the north, more spears coming through, and you can see that Myriad is really playing this game quite well. I'd love to jump in from his perspective and just get an idea on where all these units are across the map as they make their way across, because he's really looking to just kind of emulate the Zerg strategy. When you think about like the Zerg from StarCraft what are they famous for? Obviously, just the whole concept of Zerg rushing, right? The idea is that you want a whole lot of units that don't really... They don't have a lot of bark. They got a lot of bark, but not a lot of bite, right? Well, it's the other way around. No, that's got nothing to do with it. Small Zerglings. Let's just go with Zerglings, okay? This is your Zergling. This is your Zergling. When you think about it, all you're doing is you're just kind of rallying these units over to the natural expansion of your opponent and just hoping that it's going to pick up a couple of villages. And when the enemy catches you, you're just going to flee and go and hit somewhere else. Now, of course, you could say the same thing about the horseman or the knight or any other unit for that matter, but you've got to remember the key distinction here is that it's a cheap unit. It's an affordable unit. And when we talk about what is going on out of this guy right here, it is just cheap units. Now, we do actually have a little bit of a distinction to be made because the gunpowder contingent is now coming out onto the field. Not only our first one, our second one is going to be arriving. This is going to be 2 Reboldaquins and a Culverin. A really nice combination of units here. The Reboldaquin obviously going to be able to deal with melee units. The Culverin going to be able to deal with any buildings. Nice unit just to have in general as well. Always just good for that chip damage. You know, it's like that slow kind of poke damage over time. You know, think about it like you're playing League of Legends and that Vel'Koz is just there hitting those annoying cues on your backline, and you're just like, how is it, mathematics? It's the same with the Culverin, right? Like, it's just got that annoying little bit of chip damage that's just happening ever so slightly all the time, and it picks away at the army. It hurts, and it just, I think, it blends incredibly well with the Reboldaquin. So, you know, there is a world, a realistic world where, as the House of Lancaster right now, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Myriad go into like another 2 or another 3 sets of these guys. Because at the moment you can see he's just pumping out the garrison command, but like this is an incredible combo. When it comes to the resources that he's spending right now, there's a couple of production buildings at the front, but it's just for the upgrades. At least these ones are. Maybe this one as well. Maybe not. We'll never know. It is. He's getting a couple of units out there. Units that he can't really get in mass over here. Let's check in with Louis, though. Let's see how he's doing, because on his side... Oh, we've got something quite interesting. A second Reboldaquin. Is the Reboldaquin starting to make a name for itself? Is the fact that the House of Lancaster has got such easy access to the Reboldaquin that everybody's starting to take notice. They're starting to see. They're starting to say, wow, that unit's kind of good. You know what? Maybe I'm going to make some of those units. Well, I can train them, so I might as well. But now we actually see a little bit of a change in tempo as the Great Bombard is now out. Tithe Barn's going to be coming through as well for Louis. Let's switch it over to income per minute. Get a bit of an idea on where these two currently sit or stand. For me, as I mentioned earlier, we're sitting. We're sitting today. Currently, we got 800, 2100, 3500. We'll call it about 4K, a little bit under 4K on the side of Louis MT. On the side of Myriad, let's check in with his economy, see how he's doing. 1400, call it 2600. Oh my lord, 2600, 4600, 4700. He's quite a bit higher than his opponent. There's a couple of components to that. First and foremost, we've got Scootage, which is now through, so that's going to be even more resources. So you can see he's going to be getting gold through now as well. So that basically gives you an extra +9 vills off that. But he's also done a pretty decent job with keeping the enemy villager count down. He's taken out 27 villages, which obviously those villas will be replaced. But you've got to remember, to replace those villages, you've first and foremost got to build the additional 72 villages that you were going to build before them. And then once you built those 72 vills, then you can finally replace those vills. Unless you build a third TC, in which you can probably start doing it that way. It's a longer process, though. More upgrades now on the way through. Janissary guns coming in for Louis MT, which is interesting because he's only got the 10 Janissaries out at the moment. So you wouldn't think of it as a really relevant upgrade, but perhaps it could be the difference. Perhaps it could be what he's looking to move into. You can see an extra 5 damage now on these Janissaries. A keep going to be coming down on the large gold vein in the center of the map. Units up towards the north, just a handful of spearmen. Keep in mind, these are elite spears, even though their spears don't look that elite. That's because of that Billman upgrade. Now the Janissaries and archers should be able to capably deal with them. 2 of them going to go down, 3 to 3. That's going to be 3.5, 4.5. I'm good at counting. 1, 2, 3, 4.5. Culverin now firing off. Great Bombard on the other side. We got a little bit of tit for tat. Meanwhile, synchronized shot. No, it's Shire Levy. I always get those two mixed up. Synchronized shot, Shire Levy. Is it just me? They look a little bit similar. Anyway, Shire Levy about to pop. Let's go have a look because we got elite yeomen on the way to the throw, man. Vills repairing up this keep. A lot of villagers repairing up this keep. Definitely needs to start working some magic here. 2 Culverin up against the single Great Bombard. Of course, the Great Bombard got quite a bit of siege damage on it up against those buildings. Just shy of 600. There's the second Great Bombard now coming out. Could potentially... Oh, my lord, look how many Culverin he's got. And now pushing up towards the top side, the Spearman, together with the Culverin on the back. He needs to try and work down the magic. The Great Bombards have to focus down these Reboldiquins. It's really the only way he's got to deal with them. Needs to pull villagers here so that he can actually repair these Great Bombards. And you can see now the Culves are going to focus them down on the backside. The Reboldiquins for himself are looking to light up the front. And it's just an absolute shamozzle. Wow, we've got ourselves quite a bit of siege on siege. Yeoman firing off to the front. Not a whole lot of units left, though, and the Spearman count has dwindled significantly. Lancer number is still pretty decent for Louis MT. Now looking to focus down the Reboldiquins. Easily able to do it. Great Bombard in placement. We'd love to see it. Would be doing absolute work here, but for the moment, not really doing a whole lot. Great Bombard still just focusing down the keep at this stage. Archers able to take out that Reboldiquin. You can see just how much damage it does take from them. And now that Great Bombard about to go down. No vills being pulled. Not in time. Not in time. Oh, he kept it. Oh, my lord. It was almost out. It was almost out. But you can just see that Myriad 100% had the one up with regard to positioning in this fight. With regard to, like, his Bombards. At least Louis' Bombards definitely felt a little bit out of position. He had one from the north, one from the west. You'd ideally like them together so that you can work together to focus down the Reboldiquins or focus down the Culverin. I don't know what the breakpoints are there for the Culverin, so we'll have to double check that. But you can see right now the Keeper's going to be going down. And with the loss of siege at this 26-minute mark, it's going to make a difficult time for Louis MT to manage to climb his way back into this. Upgrades on the way. Silk bowstrings. Maybe he could look to think outside... How do you think outside the box in a game like this, right? When you're dealing up against this kind of composition, where do you even go, right? My first natural thinking was Sipahi. But you know the reality. The reality is that if you go into Sipahi, you're going to have to deal with the Spearman. So how else do you possibly deal with this threat? I mean, you could just go mass Great Bombards. That could be a thing. If you've got enough Great Bombards, you can pretty much do anything in life. At least that's what my mum told me. I remember when I was a kid. She's like, son, Drongo, when you amass a critical amount of Great Bombards, nobody will ever be able to challenge what you say and what you do. And anyway, that was, that's the story about how I became a dictator. No, not really. But seriously, I've done it before. Many FFA games. A little bit of a flank from the back. Don't mind if I do. There's not a lot here to defend it, actually. Where's the Spearman? Where's the Spearman? 12 Spearmen on the field. These guys are going to have an absolute field day. Not going for the Reboldiquin straight away, though. Still going to be able to find a little bit of damage back here. I don't know why. I don't know how. But they've decided that it was better to just run past the Reboldiquin than to kill them. A little bit of a misplay. A little bit of a misclick right there. But Louis MT has managed to find himself back into the game. Find a way back into the game. Let's just put it that way. By dealing with those Reboldiquin. But now 2 more have arisen. And with that, a 4th Culverin will be out now. And at this point, Myriad's starting to kind of reach this critical mass. Now, I don't want to say critical mass because it's very different with the Culverin because they have a lot lower base damage. So it's not as relevant. Like, for you to be one-shotting Great Bombards, you're going to need like 46 Culverin. It's just not going to be population efficiency. But you know what is population efficient? They're not really. They're more resource efficient. These Spearmen, look at the number. A huge number of them as they march across the map now. Keep in mind, he's got a whole bunch more coming out. 4 Culverin, 4 Reboldiquin. I think we just got some more on the way. Indeed, we did. So we've got some more heading their way to the front. Now, all 3 sacred sites are currently taken by Myriad. 5 minutes remaining on that timer. Now, it's only a villager's step away, so don't be too worried about this. As we do move a Lancer towards the north. Good luck, Louis. Hopefully you don't forget about it and accidentally bring it back. Don't do it, Louis. Keep going to be coming down in the north as well. This will be a nice little ability or nice little option for him to hold. He's actually going to replace it and say, you know what, let's go and secure this gold instead. I think that's a pretty smart move. Very nice try here. Phil's rotating up towards the north. Keep in mind, he still has this abandoned outpost, so he will spot this one out. Whether or not we actually get a movement from Myriad remains to be seen. Now, let's take a look on board with Louis and see if he spots this out, because keep in mind, there are units that are moving in this northerly direction. Spearman now going to come through. He wants to try and deny the keep from getting up. He will see the units across the sacred side, though at this point probably not going to be paying attention because the main focus here is going to be definitely on making sure this keep gets online. And it looks like it will. But there's obviously a lot of units out here. Into the stealth forest he goes. Vils jump inside the keep. Ideally, you'd want to be looking to get that Great Bombard in placement. I'd love to see him pick up Court Architects as well. Would really help him out, but you can see the number of units that Myriad's got right now is incredibly strong. The Spearmen, together with all this siege, makes it so difficult to deal with, and I really feel like people are starting to work out the House of Lancaster. And I think that it's really got to do quite a bit, as I said earlier, with just the deer push. It's all just the deer push, man. Because having that deer push means all of a sudden you've got food accessibility. Now, of course, you could sub that in with like a professional scouts or something. But to do that, it means that now you've got to invest in a stable, which means you've got to invest in scouts, and you had to invest all that resource to get all those technologies, all those professional scout technologies, because you need one for every single scout. Not really. You get the idea of it, right? Like, it's a huge investment. It's going to take time. Whereas you could just secure it, like, straight up in the Dark Age, and your enemy is literally on a timer to try and stop you, because if they can't find your hunt by the time you've started pushing it, like, good luck to them, because there's no way they're going to really be able to do much with it. 3 Culverin working down this keep now. Insufficient stone on the side of Louis MT. You can see just how well Myriad is pressuring him. More eco upgrades on the way through. And now the Lancers together with the Sipahi going to try and come through to take out the Culverin. Going to be unsuccessful. Unsuccessful. I don't know. Did I say unsuccessful? I said, I definitely didn't say it correctly. Let's just put it that way. I do get a little bit worried about my pronunciation. Is that something that just happens as you get older? Maybe that's something. Maybe once you reach your 30s, you just decline. I was told 30s was the new 20s. Who said that? No, 30s is the new 80s. I'm not talking about like I'm talking about like how old you are. The third, like 30, like dirty 30, naughty 40, that kind of thing. Anyway, numbers looking good all of a sudden for Louis. He's managed to get some pretty close to even numbers, but look at the Reboldiquin as they fire off. Yeoman do a nice little job, but he's swooping around the top side, swooping around the bottom as well. Reboldiquin gonna do a decent job of just cleaning this up, and you can see he's just getting absolutely broken by pathing here. Wanted to come around to grab this, but did a little bit of a misclick, and you can see that the numbers are actually looking still pretty decent for Louis. Myriad is pumping, but I suspect this is largely going to be reinforcements. Keep in mind he reinforces very well, because as those those garrison commands come out, they're just going to be very, very quick to the front. But now, look at the amount of Sipahi that are down on the ground here. Reboldiquin just doing work. And I think it feels to me like Louis MT's a little bit off his game. I'm going to be real with you guys. Like, this to me was a bit of a questionable position, right? Like, it felt like he could have easily gotten in here, dealt with the Reboldiquin, and we didn't really see that. Now the Yeoman number looking quite healthy. Great Bombard going to go down. An expensive loss right there. There's apparently 2 more on the field at the moment. Vils in the north going to try a little bit of magic. Not going to be able to find it as the spears have definitely been rallied in the right direction. Sacred Site has been taken. And now into the main base. Great Bombard. Not if he can help it, he says. Last spearman. Last single spearman. Let's see if he can run the gauntlet towards the 4. Culverin moving up together with the Reboldiquin. Infantry army looking strong here for Myriad. And towards the back of the base. His one mission in life was to siege down this mining camp in particular. But unfortunately for him, it all comes to an end right there. He did a decent job. He made it a long way, but unfortunately, it wasn't enough. Now, this could be a problematic keep. The reason why is because the Culverin, a little bit more maneuverable than the Great Bombard. A little bit less of a commitment as well. When you commit a Great Bombard, you really want to be committing your army with it, because to lose it is painful. Whereas the Culverin, that's one you easily send it up there. It'll deal with it eventually. Nice little pocket that he's got here. Silk Bowstrings is obviously in at this point. Incendiary arrows is through as well. Crossbows now coming out, trying to deal with these Earl's Guards that he's got. Keep in mind, he will also have that extra little point of damage that's in play after this keep comes online. He's got the White Tower that he's playing with as well, so that'll be an extra 2. I suspect he may have another keep across this map as well, somewhere in the south, and did we spot it? And now pushing up. The Archer number is looking pretty decent here for Louis MT. Has he found the Kryptonite to the House of Lancaster army? Is it the Archer? Enough archers shall set you free. Archer number still looking pretty good here. He's actually melting through those Earl's Guards as well. Not quite able to one-shot them, but still doing work. Culverin looking to fire down on that Great Bombard. He's just turned it around, put some Vils on it, said good luck, friend. He's actually turned it around, though. Now, look at the range difference between these two. You've got 11 tiles of range compared to the 10.5. So technically, you would expect, for most cases, that the Great Bombard should be able to beat the Culverin. As long as you've got that, not that one shot, but that first shot advantage. And you do have that first shot advantage. The number now from Louis MT starting to look a little bit sadder. 159 against 139. These guys are really pushing it right now. Keep in mind that in the Imperial Age, it's very common you often see armies of 200 fighting against each other. And the reason why that is because economies grow. And at this stage of the game, while the economies are still big, they've just been fighting so much. And with that, they've spent so many resources that it's difficult to actually replace those units. So despite Louis having almost 3,000 food a minute at this stage of the game, he's just going through it like an absolute madman. Now, speaking of madman, those Revoltiquin are getting awfully excited at the front here. Yeoman just going to start working it down as well. But he's turned his attention towards the back here. You can see him focusing down these Revoltiquin. Now not able to deal with it, and all of a sudden Louis MT's position starts to look a little bit better. Keep in mind, I don't favor the guy with the bigger army. I favor the guy with the bigger bombard. That's a quote from my ex. Sorry. Okay. She left me. There was a bigger bombard. I have to say it because if I don't say it, someone is going to say it in the comments, and I don't want that to be the most upvoted thing because I know you guys. There's always a bigger bombard. Okay. I'll stop. All right, where were we? That's right. Louis, I'm going to say it now. Be careful. Be careful, Louis. Don't push too far. At this stage of the game, what Louis needs to do, he needs to secure resources. That should be his goal. And I'm just going to say it now. There was literally two 8Ks right next to each other here in the middle. That's a power. That's a power position that Myriad took. I didn't even realize. But already you can kind of see he's pushing out. Look at the size of this siege army that we're getting right now. The Revoltiquins are becoming just like a key component of this army in the late game, but still, the 3 Great Bombards are not enough to one-shot the Revoltiquins. Too much health as they now begin to move up. First one is down. Yeoman looking to fire off. You can see a little bit of damage thrown out there. Absolutely no Janissaries in this pack whatsoever. Gonna have to bring Vils up. Great Bombard's going to be trying to work it down. There's only 2 of them left. Ideally, we'd like to see a 3rd, a 4th, a 5th, a 6th, and even a 7th one out here. I want to take you back to that earlier quote. It's not about how big your bombard is. It's about... Oh, it's about how many you've got. Yeah, sorry. Can you imagine that? There's that one guy from Reddit. He's like, I got 2. Just got a smug look on his face. Oh, gosh. Yeah, I mean, for me at this point, I would love to see Louis just go all in on Great Bombards. It doesn't mean you have to make only Great Bombards, but just making sure you've at least got some decent numbers. Like, if we can get to one-shotting Revoltiquin territory, then we're cooking with gas. Because then, how do you start dealing with it? Vil count starting to look good here. But at the same time, Myriad's push is just eternal, infinite, perpetual. How many more words can we put in there? Because it just doesn't stop. You know, he was left for a couple of seconds, and then he's re-engaged straight away. Okay, we got the repairs now starting to come through. Still working down these Revoltiquins. Another one's going to fall. Culverin going to try and defend. Keep in mind, behind the scenes, he's still got the gunpowder contingent that is being spammed out. It takes a lot longer to come through, but obviously when it comes to the numbers, you're getting a pretty good deal there when it comes to affordability. Great Bombards once again off to the back. You could just feel how tense it is. Louis just fighting with everything that he's got. Look at the resources in the bank. Compare that to Myriad. Myriad's actually quite a bit comfy here. I'd almost be suggesting, hey, Myriad, drop down a couple siege workshops. Get some more siege out here. There is not enough siege right now. There can always be more siege. And indeed, he hears the call. Another gunpowder contingent is coming out. He's just dropped this one. So we're going to see a second one. 38 minutes into this game, he rallies more to the front. And you can just feel how much pressure Louis MT is under as that Great Bombard falls. It all just comes down to siege at this point. It's all just about the siege. He who has the siege has the world. I think he who controls the siege. Be very careful right there. I was very close to saying something else. Anyway, yes. He who controls the bombard controls the world. Great Bombard towards the north, looking to get focused down. Vil's going to be turned around, repairing it quickly, and you can see they are going to be able to out-repair it for the moment. The number of units here is starting to look concerning. They're not repairing fast enough, and it goes down. The triple culverin was enough, and now this is where it gets really hard because the defense from Louis is discombobulated. There's not a cohesive front anymore. He's being pushed from multiple angles or multiple places. He's being focused and targeted. It makes it very difficult for him, especially now with the potential for reinforcements to be quite literally reinforcing in his base. He is building barracks in his base, in his face. Myriad Have you no shame, my friend? Have you no shame, Myriad? 3 sacred sites ticking, by the way. 5 minutes to go. This is a real threat. This is a real problem. Because it's not so much about the fact that those sacred sites are ticking. It's about the fact that you've got to deal with them, and you also have to deal with the push. Now, we can just deal with the push, right? We've got our last landmark up here. We can hold out. We're not too fussed about that. We'll get him eventually. But it might take more than 5 minutes. And if it takes more than 5 minutes, well, you better bloody hope that it's only 5 minutes and 1 second, and you somehow find a way to neutralize one of these sacred sites. Louis now. Still on the defense. Yet to mount any defense. In the last 30 seconds or so, we can see the build. The army is building up now for Myriad. Just holding in this nice little position. Look at the amount of siege he's gotten here. Triple Rebaldaquin, triple Culverin. The age of siege is back upon us, but this time it's different. It's not mangonels, it's not springles, it's not the nest of bees. One man rises to the top of the rope. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to announce Randy Orton is back. And he's stronger than ever. I can't help but feel like this is all because of Lancaster, right? Like, the Rebaldaquin has just become an absolute beast of a unit. It is really taking over this game. It just really becomes about how do you deal with the Rebaldaquin? If you don't have the Great Bombard number, because they've been whittled down by the Culverin, how do you possibly deal with them? They're too strong. Are they going to nerf the Rebaldaquin? No, they wouldn't do that. They wouldn't nerf our boy Randy, not like that. Especially considering this is the strongest he's ever been. And he's never been strong before, right? Like, think about it like this, right? The Roos were overpowered for like 4 years, dude. And they got nerfed in the 5th year. I know Age of Empires 4 hasn't been out for that long, but I'm just emphasis, all that kind of stuff. 3 minutes and 46 to go. And that is it, ladies and gentlemen. After an absolutely marathon game, 40 plus minutes in, Louis MT taps out and Myriad is your victor. Incredible play from both of these two. But at the end of the day, the real MVP is Randy. Go check him out. Links in the description, and I'll catch you in the next one.